Where's my record button? All right. Welcome to the Out Loud podcast in conjunction with the Out Loud anthology released by Red or Green Books. Today, we are highlighting some of the authors from inside the anthology. We have 4 of the authors here today that are going to feature their work as part of National Poetry. I'm calling it National Poetry Month or National Author Month. November 1st was actually not National Author Day. So as a tribute to that, we are having a feature, 4 featured readers for the podcast today. And that is Pam Rice, Brian Franco, Veronica J, and Starchild, who is my co-host. Do not know where my other 2 co-hosts are, but we know we switch it up in here, right? This room's we always switching it up. So yes, each of them is going to have 10 minutes to read some of their work, let you know how that you can follow them. And of course, if you want to get their work in the Out Loud anthology, reach out to them and get yourself a copy. That we're all selling copies, so and any of the proceeds will go directly to them. All right, Starchild, before we have Pam start, is there anything you would like to say?
No, I'm ready to get this show on the road. Yeah,
Ding, ding, ding,
but
ding, ding. That was gay. I don't
ding,
know
ding,
what.
ding.
This is a gay
Let's do
podcast.
it.
That's good. Going skiing over here. All right. Pam, start us off. Let us know about you, and let's hear what you got.
All right. I have written poetry since I was a child. I really got into it in high school and was sticking with it and got published in the high school stuff. But then I stopped for years. And it finally took a pretty good therapist to get me back into expressing myself through my words, which is always easier for me than it is to talk to people one-on-one. I tend to be very shy. I do have one book published through Red or Green Books. It's called The Struggle Within. If anybody's interested, please let me know.
I highly suggest it.
Thank you, Generalissimo. I enjoyed writing it, and I'm working on a second book. I don't know yet when that release date's going to be, but I'm in the process. All right, I've got a few poems to read. Let's see. Excuse me. This one's from my first book. It's called Seeds of Hope. A suicide attempt began my journey, and as the years go by, I struggle, I fight, and I flee within me. But mental illness is not an easy foe, and strive as I might, there's nowhere left for me to go. The medications I try help to a degree, but when one starts to work, it soon drops me to my knee. So we go from med to med, searching for the right mix, not really realizing that in my DNA, there is no true fix. I do not metabolize medications like everyone else. They work for a while, but then they just fail. I still think about suicide at times when the darkness consumes me, but I am stronger now and want more than these thoughts included in my story. I will take my meds and participate in therapy, and there will come a day when joy finds me. Until that time, my demons will I fight and strive to overcome with all of my might. I know that there's more than darkness in me, There's love and light and laughter that I like my friends and family to see. Thank you. Can they tell? Do they see? The darkness inside will not let me be. Be brave. Be strong. I don't want you to know. If I tell you now, will you turn away and go? I reach out and touch you. I take your hand in mine. I open my heart. My secrets no longer hide. I entrust them to you. I want you to know who I really am, so you'll never go. Thank you. These are a couple of my newer ones. To change or not to change? That is the question. But is it really? I cannot change my eyes from brown to blue. It's in my DNA, not just a hue. But wait, I can make that change. Colored contacts will be just the same. They say that blondes have more fun. Excuse me. New hair dye will make me the one whom the masses are taught to see as beautiful and worthy, like I long to be. Hold on now, I'm being trapped. Mimicking change is just a new mask. To make the true changes I seek, I'll need my courage, not being weak. Learning to divert what's deep inside, those neural pathways I continue to ride. They strip away my value in life and flay me inside just like a knife. Blades of steel dissect my self-worth. Showing myself to you will be a rebirth. I am not changing for you to approve. Instead, I am seeking my own internal truth. Thank you. Having trouble on titles, but this is another one that's new. The bitter cold breeze blasts through the cluttered corridors of my mind, the closed chambers of my heart. Frozen in a moment, a breath, a space that I cannot escape. Shivering and alone, I seek solace and protection, a shield and armor to keep the monsters at bay. My pounding feet and ragged breath try to lead me away. But how will I be able to hide when they are entrenched so deep inside? Blood and bone are filled with loathing and self-hatred. Why must I forever slink behind a mask crafted of my own design? Skulking between the headstones of my memories, I read the names and dates of those who have touched my life, my world. Though I see each word etched in stone, I cannot envision the faces or the places where our paths intersected. Thank you. This was an old one, but it's from my first book, and I try to read it periodically just to remind myself of where I once was. It's called The Plan. Hiding the pills, stealing the Everclear. I carry my plan onto the school bus that day. I go to my class and wait and think and wonder, is now the right time? During chemistry, I ask to go to the bathroom. When I am alone, I take out the pieces of my plan. I drink, I swallow. I drink, I swallow until there is nothing left. I return to class and wait and wait. The bell rings and I go into the hall. Something's not right. It isn't supposed to feel this way. I make it to the water fountain and vomit until I am an empty shell. My plan has failed. My mistake, the Everclear instead of plain water. This one's called Friend Lost. I remember one time when I was trying to say, my dear friend, I am gay. She was a preacher's daughter, and her father was the one who taught her. Each time we were together, the topic popped into my mind, but try as I might, the right words I could not find. Then it happened one day. I found the words I wanted to say. I told her about me and the love I'd found that set me free. Rather than sharing my joy, I discovered her friendship was merely a ploy. There's some more, but it's scrolled, so that's a good ending. Sorry. This was a clapback poem for my brother-in-law for some comments he put on Facebook. It's called God's Grace. My life and love are evil to you. It doesn't matter how I feel or what I do. Being gay is against God's word. Will I ever be truly heard? You assume that I'm damned to hell. I'm not taking this very well. You think I am making a choice, but will you listen now to my voice? God did not make a mistake. Myself, he doesn't need to remake. I am equal to your straight friends in God's sight, and he loves me with all of his might. Assumptions about my path with God are in your head. There was a time when they filled me with dread, but I do not carry these fears today. I will not let your hypocrisy get in my way. When I die, I will be embraced by God and his angels through all time and space. Thank you. I don't want to go over. I wasn't paying attention to the time.
That was exactly 10 minutes. So great,
Awesome.
great job.
Thank you, guys.
Well, that was Pam Rice, author of The Struggle Within. Wonderful, wonderful book, but you can also find her work inside of the anthology. I would recommend that you get in touch with her and get both. They're both amazing pieces and both important voices in the LGBTQ community. Up next, we have Starchild, because Generalissimo is a diva and wants to go later. We got to give him what he wants. Starchild is going to give us 10 minutes. They just had their book launch this past Friday, I think it was. It was amazing for their book Alma, and I'll let them explain that a little bit more as well.
Yeah, so here is my book, Alma. And as you can see, maybe, Alma is a word in Hebrew. And Alma is the word in Hebrew that gets mistranslated as virgin into English. So when people talk about like the Virgin Mother and stuff like that, they're using this word, or they're basing that on a translation that is inaccurate. What Alma means is not that it's not a woman who hasn't had sex. It's a female who is in a state of full bloom. So basically meaning that she's ready to have babies whenever she wants to. Um, and so that's the first poem, the title poem of my anthology, because Alma, this idea of like the feminine in full bloom, is my understanding of what God is like, what the divine is like. So here's my first poem, Alma. It doesn't mean virgin. It has nothing to do with whether or not a woman has shared her flower. Alma means a woman who is in full bloom, with wild dreams and unstoppable hope. She has not had her milk sucked dry by the task of growing other humans. Her petals have not closed after too many clumsy bees landed too fast and took too much. Perhaps she has entertained many bees without being stung, and she is every bit as fresh as she was the moment she opened for the first time and tasted the sweet sun kissing her deepest buds to call forth the life that always dances within her, since she will never stop being a maiden. Or maybe her first blooms withered too quickly, but life gave her a new spring even now as a crone. She dances with the poor who find her, while the rich try to bottle her up like a genie with their rosary beads, and old men with shiny hats build cathedrals of speculative assertions about how virgin mothers are supposed to behave, painting her so pale white that she's barely visible. But the Alma just laughs the laughter of a wild queen, and she keeps on creating the universe, entirely unbound by papal edicts, knowing her joy is already overthrowing the world. All right. So I'm just going to kind of pick some random poems. I wanted to read one that, because I wrote some a lot of the poems in this collection are things that I wrote when I was in college. Because the collection is basically about my journey of getting to know the divine or God or whatever you want to call it, through different women who have been part of my life. And so I wrote some love poems when I was in college. So here's one that's a sonnet. A quiet murmur have I known this day, for my words trip and find themselves staring, grappling with threads not new but still wearing these same spent clothes, not caring as they fray. And I would stumble into hard, fast streets, good quarry for a scheming sidewalk bird, whistling, not watching, my eyes still blurred by a moon's warmth that would not quite make heat. I bumble along, not saying too much, not thinking but for the vision of your face, your arm close to mine, your voice in my ear. And though I did not sweat, we did not touch, you stood there in a space that was my space. I liked the place I was when you were near. All right. Um, this is one about God, and it's called Queerest God, because I believe that God is queer. You are the queerest God we could have hoped for, breaking every rule the theologians gave you to follow. Every time they think they've bottled up your essence, you unveil new depths to your infinity. You refuse to be an idea. You insist that you have a body and that we are your bodies. And all the passions and attachments and self-sabotaging follies our church fathers tried so hard to save us from within their orthodoxy are themselves the exquisite drama through which you enjoy the infuriating beauty of our lives as we wander across continents searching for the home we never left behind. Because we are home any place the sun kisses our face in the wind, and we can stay here as long as we remember you are the one kissing our face in the light in the wind. You are the womb whose waves summon us to be baptized without ceasing. We do not need to die or make it to the top to get to heaven. We just need to stop trying to be heroes who hate our bodies and only care about winning. All right. Let's see. This is called Butterfly, and this is about my wife. And I kind of self-identify as a unicorn, because because my mother read me a book about a unicorn named Morgan, which is my other name that I use, my birth name, which isn't a dead name, it's just a birth name. And my brother read me a book about a unicorn named Morgan when I was 3. And so in this poem, my wife is like a butterfly and I'm like a unicorn. I talk about, yeah. Anyway, because I mentioned a unicorn, so I don't know why I'm like feeling the need to explain these or whatever. Should just jump in. All right, butterfly. Sometimes in the metaphor, you're fluttering around and you won't land on my unicorn nose because I'm making loud, horsey noises. And I'm always on the verge of erupting like a Mayan storm god, since I come from loud South Texas people who unload their dreams onto each other, like an eager grandmother piling up your plate with lima beans. I wish I could pull myself back enough and breathe softly enough that you feel safe landing on me, spreading your wings all the way to show your full divinity. But you're also in the cocoon, and I want it to open. And I'm standing outside it, poking like a petulant squirrel or a bear who has been told many times that butterflies die when you try to tear open their cocoons to set them free. I don't know how to stop tinkering, but I'm trying to learn how to sit and watch you discover your freedom little by little, realizing how powerful and marvelous you really are. And if we need to get you a convertible so you can drive with the top down, playing David Bowie's Heroes, then that's what we'll do. And I'm not saying you're the one who needs to bloom and not me. This is how I open my own chrysalis and cast a spell on myself to let my body know it's safe to rest. One day we will rest on each other's noses, unicorn and butterfly glowing together under the moon, wings fully spread, soaring without effort through the night sky, no longer sure if we're in a dream or not, because our dreams are real life. All right, let's see. Oh, okay, I'll do I'm trying to decide. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna do, this is the last poem in the book, and this is kind of like the conclusion or something. This is me trying to start a new religion or something like that. I don't know. But not necessarily if that weirds you out. This time she's our mother, and the earth is her body, and she's giving birth to everything as she sings the world into spring, which is her favorite season. She doesn't see a reason to make people afraid of her, since people who are afraid of God have made the world hell already. She's going to dispel their lies with smells that are nice and bells that ring in the breeze as the trees dance to her song. She just wants us to belong and to get along, to stop trying to prove each other wrong and show off how strong we are. That way of living is gone. It's passing away. Before long, it will be a distant yesterday, and children will only remember calling God Mama when they pray. And she will play in the fields with them, and they will feel safe and loved, and no one will steal their joy ever again by holding their sin over them, telling them they're damned, unless they comply with the demand to never ask questions when they don't understand, but stand and kneel in a room where God is only real inside a book, where we look for the knowledge of good and evil. So much good was written in that book, but it wasn't worth the evil done to millions whose gods were no less beautiful for the one fruit to be made into the only truth. We had no excuse. The Bible told us that the fruit of knowledge of good and evil was a cursed fruit because it's the root of religious authority, which becomes white supremacy. One race of people thinks there's one door to heaven and only they have the key, which is how Christianity became its own blasphemy. And every serpent in a black robe who stands in the pulpit to proclaim the salvation of correct belief is a thief of joy, because grace happens without belief. In the midst of disease and sleazy catastrophes, when we cease and desist from proving ourselves right and surrender to the light that heals us by striking us blind until our mind stops trying to control God, who doesn't live in a book, who forgives us for building an empire out of her love. But she said enough is enough, and she's going to play it tough for a while till every juvenile with all the answers is ready to sit down and shut up. Once they've had enough of the cup of wrath, we will laugh when we stop trying to know and let divinity flow through us into poetry, since that's all God ever wanted us to be. Poetry of every form, ungoverned by norms, beyond the intuition of harmony, always saying yes and, even when we don't understand, letting love take command of humanity before we fall into further calamity caused by our vanity. But our insanity does not overwhelm God any more than a mother is overwhelmed by a screaming child. She knows that we're wild, and she's wilder than we are. Thank you.
No, thank you for such great pieces. And definitely get their book, Alma, as well as,
Yep.
I mean, Starchild's got a lot going on. They've got their album on Spotify, which is great. I listen to it while I'm working.
Yay! Yep, Starchild. So if you look on Spotify, Starchild, Dolly for president, because we're trying to get Dolly to run for president. Dolly Parton, that is. If the first name, I couldn't put the full name Dolly Parton in the title because the stupid distribution service said that I wasn't allowed to. So I just said Dolly for president. But I think she's the only, I don't think there's anybody else named Dolly in the whole world, except for the lamb that got cloned.
I was gonna say
Right. But yeah, you can get Alma, the poetry book about with goddess poetry from Red or Green Books. So check it out. Or if you want to get in touch with me directly, I can send you a copy. And they're $20 plus shipping.
Yes. Then you were also, are you still doing the, never mind. We ain't even gonna do it. All right, so up next, we got Generalissimo, who is author of Everything I Think Is All in My Mind. I get mad every time I pick up his book because his cover is a matte cover. And I wanted a matte cover, but I didn't want to pay for it, so I'm jealous. But yes, Generalissimo, bless us with some poetry.
Don't get me on that shiny versus matte thing, because I'll never stop talking. Okay. And then Marissa will see the tape, and then she'll excoriate me. So hold on.
She don't got no authority here.
Okay, so the piece that I have in the anthology is called "When a Kiss Feels like Life Exists in a Movie." Okay, hold on. I'm trying to, let me shrink it down a little bit because I think it's not, wait, sorry. And straighten it out a little. You leaned in to kiss me, and somehow our noses didn't crash into each other. Somehow the way your lower lip and upper lip managed to grab and release my lower lip seemed as if a famous movie director had choreographed our first kiss. I felt my heart beating against the Pima cotton blue and white striped polo dress shirt I wore beneath a red cashmere sweater. Your hand was on my shoulder, and you rubbed it across my barely there 20-year-old chest and commented in a soft voice, I love the feel of cashmere. Then you wrapped your 23-year-old arms around me as you pressed your soft lips against mine, and time stood still. I felt your hands travel down my back. Then you stepped away and smiled at me and said, if you want to stay a little longer, you can. You were older than me, and my only other experience with a guy was this guy in front of me in line at a grocery store with whom I had an innocuous small talk conversation, who then walked up to me after I got to my car. He was gorgeous with perfect terrier runner's legs. He started a conversation as I put my groceries in the trunk. I hope I'm not wrong, but I don't live far from here if you want to come by. I didn't realize we were flirting with each other by simply having a conversation. We started kissing at his place, and he was overzealous with his tongue, which I wasn't too fond of, but it didn't take long for two skinny college boys to find their way to naked. Every touch from his fingertips and hands felt like my body was custom made for him. It was as if He was made of electricity. He was my first. There are things I needed to learn. He became my tutor. I was a willing student. We meet once or twice a week at his place, which lasted for about 2 months. We'd always get naked within a few minutes of my arriving and stay undressed my entire visit as if we were nudists. I bought Paul Young's Secret of Association. I put the cassette in his stereo system on side 2. The first song is I Want to Tear Your Playhouse Down. The whole side 2 was a soundtrack for a sex romp. I think we cared for each other, but it was the 80s. We were closeted, and there was no chance of us continuing without blowing up our lives. When you and I met, you were a grad assistant to a professor. I made an appointment with you to help me with something I didn't understand. Afterwards, you suggested we grab some dinner sometime. Again, another time I didn't realize I was flirting. I could definitely feel my heart beating against my preppy knit shirt as I sat opposite your desk. And when you took me out to that healthy food restaurant, then paid the bill, I was too naive to realize we were on a date. It was a breezy, cool, early spring Florida evening. You suggested we take a walk in a small nearby park. You asked me if you could kiss me beneath a blooming magnolia tree. It was a soft, gentle kiss, but felt more passionate than any kiss my previous sort of not boyfriend had planted on me. You asked me to follow you back to your place, which I didn't hesitate to do. You were never overzealous with your tongue or a sloppy kisser. Our secret 6-month tryst laid the groundwork for how I learned to treat future romantic partners with respect. You never pushed me to do things I didn't want to do. We had stopped seeing each other by November. You finished your graduate degree shortly after, then moved across the country. It should have broken my heart and sent me into a severe depression, but you had taught me I was capable of eventually having a real relationship with another man, even though it would take me several years till I moved to New York City in 93 to live as an out gay man and have a full-fledged relationship. I don't think we were in love, though I might have thought we were. We both lived separate lives outside of us. Grocery store guy was more of a dalliance, the start of a new learning curve. What we were was more than that, even though it was just a secret, and we never met or talked again. It felt as if our story was a series of vignettes in a movie directed by a not yet famous director before his first film would change the life of a closeted gay 20-year-old college kid, desperately in need of the kind of knowledge and experience to recognize his true self and live a full life. And if I go from that to this piece, with when Shockie, when I sent it to Shockie and Shockie read it, she said it made her sad. But I thought it was just a very regular experience people have with, it's called Just Add a Little Pinch. Once upon a time, I did not get overwhelmed by rooms designed for loud, overlapping conversations where I have to yell at the top of my lungs to be heard by someone whose face is an inch from my face, where the idea of an intimate conversation would sound like a macro-aggression arm wrestling match using vocal cords instead of arms if all of a sudden everyone else in the room stopped their screaming. Once upon a time, this guy I had a show invited me to September at Lincoln Center. The only other ballet I ever attended record. Before the ballet, with jazz playing so loud, everyone had to scream to hear each other, which meant we all had to lean in so close it looked like everyone was leaning in for a kiss. The place was famous for its deconstructed Caesar salad with whole pieces of romaine stacked alternately with shavings of parm sprinkled with black pepper and herbs topped with a sunny side up quail egg and crispy fried boneless tiny headless anchovies surrounded by a halo of red, yellow, and orange grape tomato halves and a moat of olive oil streaked with a vein of aged balsamic vinegar. The ballet was a modern dance interpretation of Rites of Spring. I had never imagined the act of someone dragging their feet could be so sensual. The dancers danced with the fluidity of mercury that had escaped from a thermometer and couldn't decide if it wanted to part ways from itself or stay together. In the meantime, this guy I had a crush on, who paid for my dinner, was playing footsie with me beneath our seats. I could barely breathe when he smiled and stabbed my soul with his ice blue eyes. We met in Central Park at an Italian ice cart. He stood behind me in a tank top on rollerblades while I couldn't make up my mind what flavor I wanted. He helped me choose a combo pina colada and lemon lime. After he got his, we made all sorts of small talk. We proceeded to exchange digits. I borrowed a pen and paper from the Italian Iceman. I never thought he'd call me, but after we met, and I was too afraid to call him, but he called me out of the blue and invited me to the ballet. It was too much for my brain to interpret as anything other than pinch me, I'm dreaming. Once upon a time, I allowed myself to believe that a too good to be true pinch me, I'm dreaming crush would not leave my psyche with a history repeating itself bruised from the pinch. Okay, this next one is pretty long. It happened on the number 2. It happened when we met. It's true what they say. New York City public transit is one hell of a matchmaker. And a place where everything's moving so fast all the time, it's the only place anyone can stand still while they're still moving. You got on the number 2 downtown bus a stop or two after me. It was a hot, humid day. Every seat was taken. You stomped down the aisle in your scuba diver flippers, announcing to everyone you deserved their seat. I was reading the comics. You rudely elbowed my shoulder as you grabbed the cold steel bar above my head so you could stand still while the bus moved. I looked up and said, "Excuse me." You looked down and said, "Excuse you." And over 2 miles later, after we both exited at the same stop, no less, we were exchanging digits. And despite I thought you were way out of my, you asked for my number and he called me first. On our first date, we went to that place on 7th and A in a deep staircase into a loft space with exposed brick walls, a long oak bar, and floor-to-ceiling window opening out of Tompkins Square Park. You opened the wines, put your finger on a Chilean Shiraz, and said, "You'll love it. I'm a bit of an onophile." I was duly unimpressed. After dinner, you led the way to a bar. We walked down Avenue A. About halfway down 9th, there it was. Everything was gold. The ceiling was gold. The floor was gold. The walls were gold. The bar was gold. The upholstery on the stools was gold. The art on the walls was canvases painted gold with frames painted gold. I was blinded by all that gold. I was blinded by your words. I was blinded by the way you talked to me. I was blinded by the way you looked straight through me. And I am not ashamed about what happened in the cab back to your place. My place was a glorified walk-in closet on the 4th floor of a 5-floor walk-up with a crazy old lady redheaded super who smoked in the halls, whose son lived across the hall from me. So every time I opened my door, I'd hear, "Kitty, is that you?" Your place was a high-rise with a marble lobby with marble floors, marble walls, and a marble desk for the doorman who looked like a middle-aged Ralph Lauren model. When I finally met your roommate, the bleached blonde nurse with the Baywatch body and Demi Moore voice and Mae West sense of humor, we were in bed. She walked into your room, introduced herself, and stayed a few minutes to tell us about her day. After she left, you said, "I think she's your type. She's everyone's type." I licked my lips and gave you a sloppy, wet kiss on your 2-day stubble cheek that both tickled and scratched my lips. You gave me a sweet, soft, romantic kiss on the lips, and despite the inordinate amount of time we spent in bed, the best part of everything was that there was never a time we weren't talking. We listened to each other, learned from each other, and taught each other. There was music, movies, theater in New York City. It was something I hadn't experienced in my 27 years of existence and have yet to experience in the 29 years since. Now we live close to 2,500 miles away from each other and haven't met in 24 years. We talk at least once every other month. We can tell each other anything and expect the kind of respect and honesty that rarely happens in today's indispensable cell phone, Facebook-fueled Fox News, fake news world. The last time we hung up, I realized in over 29 years, I have never met someone who gave me the jolt you gave me when we first met. When you meet someone, you take this deep breath you can't release until that person is 100% out of your sight. I'll admit I've stood naked and God only knows how many thunderstorms holding a lightning rod, Statue of Liberty style, and have been struck by lightning God only knows how many times. But in my lifetime, I've only received one jolt. Do I have time for one more? Shockie G? Hello?
If it's short, please.
Okay, let's see what I have. Hold on. Okay. Okay. You know what? I'll just do this, which is called unrequited. I am a deer in the headlights in your presence, just the sight of you. When you gently graze my elbow unintentionally, oops. When you lightly tap me on the shoulder, when you say hello to me. God help my heart if you wave or smile at me from across a crowded room. If you dare to look me in the eyes, for me to tell you how I feel would make my heart beat so fast it would have to jump out of my chest to survive. I will write my feelings in a poem in a squiggly black and white cardboard covered comp book, tear the page from the notebook, fold it in thirds, shove it in an unmarked envelope under a pile of paid bills in my desk drawer, so I shall never risk reading it to you or anyone else. If I did so, I might learn why the word crush exists. You could hold my mushy heart in your hands and twist and wring out my ability to smile, leaving only residual heartbreak tears that would never dare exit my eyes. I shall take a deep breath. I shall never exhale. I shall accept our existences as separate. I shall accept being afraid of my own shadow is the same as being afraid of being in love. I will hope one day you will reciprocate my feelings without my expressing them to you, so I can finally be able to read you this poem. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you again. Go get his book. And he's also in the anthology. And those were very sensual. Really, is sensual the word I'm looking for? I think
It's
so.
not my regular thing. I mean, I do a lot of love poems, but most of my love poems don't have that kind of nature. You know, I mean, they tend to be more very romantic, but not so. Yeah, so
Yes,
open
yes.
about all the things.
All right. Well, thank you. And then last but not least, saving the best for last, we got Veronica J, who's been hiding there. Are they still with us?
Hey,
Hey,
how you guys doing? Thanks for having me on. Um,
thanks for coming.
well, I figure I've been off the camera for a while. Been doing my own thing, projects here in Buffalo, and just working on some personal projects as well. So, um, um, now the poem that I have that's in the book is it's a little how can I say it's a little on the racy side. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Race away.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna take myself off the camera. Okay. So this particular piece is in the LGBTQ Out Loud anthology, and it is called I Thought of You Today. I thought of you today, about how your touch makes me pulse in cadence to your heart's pace. When we make love, it's a marathon, not a race. And just in case you were wondering what I am doing today, I'm spread naked across this bed and on display, wishing you were here right now to reverently pay homage to my physical form in every intimate way imaginable. The evidence between my thighs is tangible, but you're not here to coat your fingers with the evidence or make your presence evident between thighs that want to wrap around your waist and later encase your face with the wet traces of my personal autograph. I thought of you today, The way my nipples ache when you look my way with eyes that undress me in the most carnal way. And I shamelessly wish that you would approach me, rip my shirt open, push my bra aside, and suck these nipples publicly, giving anyone in the vicinity the opportunity to witness me surrendering. This pulsing in my clit is lingering, so I am now fingering myself, wishing it was your tongue wrapped around and squeezing, releasing my juices, commingling with the heat of your mouth and producing the cream that always makes you want to lick me clean. Babe, I thought of you today. My skin is flushed and sensitive to the touch, sipping wine as my hips whine, recalling the way you grind into me when we fuck. Mesmerized by your stroke game. My cerebellum paralyzed and neurons are exploding in the brain every time your voice catches when you say my fucking name. Yes. You see, it's a mind fuck. Damn it. I wish that you were here in this moment of sexual torment, guiding this storm until we both end up drenched from the rain. It's insane that I can imagine your touch so vividly. Feel your lips against my skin and your tongue running slowly over every inch of my body. And I am now realizing in this epiphany that you command my spirit intimately. I thought of you today. You've got me sprung, recalling how that tongue is hung. I am literally straining against these sheets, fantasizing. I want you inside me deep, so deep that I cannot speak. I want you to take my breath away repeatedly. Make this bed squeak in rhythm to the beat of our hips and the meeting of our lips, empowering me and stripping me of all my insecurities, blowing my back out until I am screaming, then holding me gently, convincing me that you see my inner beauty. Shit. I wonder if you have any idea of what you are currently doing to me. Because you see, I am trying to draw out this throbbing. My legs are shaking, my left hand gripping the headboard above my head, tears in my eyes, sobbing as this climax is quaking. And I pray that on some frequency, wherever you are, you can hear me screaming your name as it's reverberating through my walls and my whole entire being with sweat drenching down my body as it slows its convulsing, pulsing. And I wish that you had some way of knowing that I thought of you today. And that's that poem. Okay, this next one that I'm going to do, I guess I should put a trigger warning on it. It's basically a poem about my life experiences. So this one's called Fractured. Splinters inside my fragmented mind. Sharp edges of memories inflicting injuries, causing brain bleeds across my consciousness. As I try to make sense of the hypothesis of how I find myself immersed in this personal apocalypse of thoughts that I'd convinced myself were buried 10 feet below the original 6 feet of my mental mortuary. On the contrary, these seeds of misery were busy, growing inconspicuously, spreading like weeds, killing my peace softly with toxic ballads on repeat, weaving into the very fabric of my state of being until I woke up every morning believing that I was fractured, shattered and scattered in so many directions, No ending and no beginning, just an infinite circle of wounds inflicted that bled, festering, never really healing. And because of this, they just ended up bleeding all over again. I grew up in church learning about the wages of sin, but it was the compulsion of some men to sin that I should have been warned about. Shout out to those men of God that actually stand in the pulpits of their churches, holding God in high regard and keeping God's commandments sacred, not trying to take advantage of young feminine fragility. Because years ago, at the age of 19, a member of the clergy whom I considered to be family had the audacity in the house of the Lord to make advances toward me that made me feel dirty. And with no accountability, spoke platitudes weekly on how to be a better Christian. I was left questioning, internally fracturing, actually believing for a time that the fault was somehow mine, but the reality is that he crossed the line and caused my spirit to confine itself into a closet of mistrust because of his penchant towards lust, leaving me fractured, shattered in all the ways that mattered, scattered in so many distorted directions. I spent so many years in reflection and introspection, building Fort Knox like protections around emotions that were too brittle to stand without fortification, trying to achieve some semblance of balance on an unstable foundation of disappointments and the toxic verbal regurgitations of a wolf disguised as a lover. I was so afraid to love her, and my fear should have been my warning. See, I was so tired of being perpetually sad that I ignored intuition and all those big, bright red flags flashing, compelling me to run. But instead, I stood fixed in her sights, losing sight, caught up like a helpless deer in dirt smeared fog lights. Why, at times, do we accept what we can instead of realizing that we deserve better than? I gave, and in return, she took everything. And in the end, preferred to have an abusive, trifling, poor excuse for a man. Damn. It still took years for that shit to even begin to mend because my heart could not accept then that her emotional treachery was getting in the way of my destiny, causing me to question the very validity of my existence. I paid years of penance for her tendency in my distorted psyche, her dark presence looming in the background, constantly reminding me that I was not enough, that what we shared was the stuff of night terrors, measured with mental barriers to keep my vision impaired, ensnared to the point that I literally could not see the proverbial forest for the smokescreen of imposing trees she put in place to obscure the exit gates. She left me fractured, splattered across bleeding meadows of memories, detached from reality, grieving the loss of what was never mine from the very beginning. So many instances in my life have left me feeling fractured. Sharp edges of memories that have inflicted injuries, causing brain bleeds across my consciousness, pouring into a self-conscious mind for a time until I deliberately made the choice to stop being blind and embrace the possibilities of my deficiencies actually evolving into capabilities, acknowledging that my fragility is also my strength. I now dwell in reality, and that reality is that I am still fractured, but I've managed to glue all those scattered, tattered, imperfectly jagged pieces back together in all the ways that matter. No longer a complete disaster and a much better version than the latter, ready to create new chapters in direction. Because now I am gladly embracing my perfectly imperfect imperfections. Poem. How much time do I have left?
You have enough for like another piece or two.
Okay, I got one more. All right, I'll close with this one. Okay, this one's called If Desire Had a Sound. If desire had a sound, it would be you. Your presence dances across my soul like lyrics, accompanying the melody of your voice. a voice that has granted me the kind of peace I thought was limited to fanciful conjecture. You are pure pleasure in the flesh, and I feel eternally blessed to have captured your favor, savoring every moment and looking forward to being surrounded by all things you, feeling completely safe because I know that no weapon formed will ever prosper when I'm lying in your arms. There is no doubt in my mind that you would shield me from any harm as I would cover you. Protecting you would be as natural to me as breathing, even though you are more than capable of defending self, quiet and unassuming, yet fierce, because inside the lioness dwells. You are a wealth of possibilities and mysteries that I want to unravel over a lifetime, meticulously learning every aspect of your mental and physical abstract as personally as I know my own, becoming the home that I've always prayed for, ached for. And I realized that before I'd been trying to unlock doors with keys that were always yours and wondering why none of them ever opened. You are my poetry in motion, the promise of words brought forth from my pen, the kind of flaming twin that enters your life and encompasses every wish made on stars in the silence of night. My light, casting out the darkness with a smile, feeding my soul and all the while making it seem effortless. Your flex is that you are unlike anyone else on the face of this earth, and I celebrate your birth because your worth in my life is immeasurable. I desire to make unintelligible words of pleasure fall from lips that I dream of kissing, and tears flow from the happiness that I intend to keep replenishing, diminishing past pains and doubts, and truly listening, even to the thoughts that never make a sound, because sometimes the unspoken is profound and telling if you know how to hear and value its worth. When something becomes dear, we sometimes instinctually push it away due to fear, because the fear of actually being happy can be more severe than the disappointments we routinely go through. But fear is defeated by faith, which leads to the audacity to hope. Hope sparks the fires of desire, and on a metaphysical level, I know you were sent to alter my life, my journey, and everything I thought to be true. And as I speak these words out loud, there is no doubt in my mind that if desire had a sound, it would be you. Thank you for having me on here. I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you coming through. I appreciate all four of you for coming through. That's 4 out of 44 authors that are in this book. All right, so you can get all of them in one place with the Out Loud anthology. Definitely reach out to any of them to get a copy. It's going to be part of my gift bundle for Christmas. You can purchase it that way, or through any of these wonderful, wonderful writers. So, as being authors, what has being an author been like for you?
Can I say something first? I just want to ask tell Veronica J. Cox, since I don't remember ever coming across her, that I just want to know where she has been, because I'm sorry, are you she or they?
She.
I just want to say you are amazing. You have the sweetest reading voice. Everything about what you just did, from the words and the very deliberate writing and everything, but your voice is just so soothing and wonderful. I just want to say I'm amazed by you. We're
Thank
very
you.
lucky
Yeah,
to have you, and I can't wait to see more of you. And and we're lucky to have Starchild and my girl Pam Rice, because I love Pam Rice, and of course my little niecey Shockie G. Thank you, Shockie. I'll shut up.
yeah. I just wanted to echo that. Like, Veronica, that was incredible, and well, all of y'all were incredible, and I loved, yeah, I loved just the sensualness, um, in so much of the poetry tonight. Like, it really, yeah, really gave me warm and fuzzy feelings, and all kinds of other feelings too.
You
Yeah,
tingling?
yeah, tingling.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
So back to my question, how has being an author been for any of you, whoever wants to answer the question?
I find the word author to be a very difficult word. I mean, because I feel like maybe I've been writing poetry for 30 years, and part of why it took me so long to be published is because I just didn't try to until the pandemic. I mean, that has to do with depression and anxiety, but it's not enough of an excuse to not have tried. And um, you know, it still in a way doesn't feel very real. And so much good has happened, and I've done so many wonderful events, and every time that I go out of town and either do a feature or go to a festival or whatever, it's like I feel like it's more than a resume line. It's like it's saying, yes, you are an author, and your poetry is not a hobby. It's not, you know, it's not just something he does, you know, he just does to take up a little extra time in his life. I feel like most people who have known me my whole life are always surprised by all this, you know, and so it's weird. It's a very weird thing.
Yeah, I guess what I've learned about it is, like, I really have tried to embrace, like, just doing things my own way, and not, because I was an author of a theology book before I wrote poetry, and I got all caught up in trying to, like, you know do the hustle and all that, and it just really, like, stressed me out. And so with these poetry books, I've just been kind of doing things at my own pace, and it's kind of low volume. Like, it's not, it's, I mean, I have 100 copies of Alma, and maybe I'll sell them. I don't know, but I just have them available, and I really like gifting them to people. Actually, like people that I care about, um, and so I kind of took the pressure off of myself to, I just thought of, like, publishing the book as an investment and having something that I can, perhaps sell some of the books, but, like, mostly it's just like having something that I can share with my friends.
I gotta tell you, I had a moment earlier. It actually, I'm a crybaby. I'm a crybaby, but it made me cry. I was scrolling through Instagram and just randomly scrolling, and I saw somebody had a live, like someone who I've never been to their live. I've never really talked to them, and I was just watching the live, and then like at some point, someone pulled up my book and was like, "I just want to read this poem," and like I had no idea. Like they just read one of my poems, and like everyone was talking about it, and I was just like I wasn't even present. Like they wouldn't have known I was watching this. You know what I mean? So it was just, I don't know, it made me tear up a little bit. Like
Wow.
people have my book. Like that was the first time, like, wow, people have my book. So that was kind of cool. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that's so rad.
Yeah. I just hope that you all know that all of your work is very important. I hope that you continue to write. You know, I've spoken you know, with Pam. I read her book. I went to one of her lives, and you know, she speaks a lot about mental health in her book, and it's an important message, right? Starchild and their journey, Generalissimo and his journey. Unfortunately, I don't have a book by Veronica J, but if one comes down the pipeline, definitely let me know. But very important voices, and I'm happy that you guys are continuing to publish, including being published in the Out Loud anthology. Like I said, there's 44 authors, 44 poets that are part of this anthology. So if you like what you heard today, just know that there's 40 other persons who are sharing their voices within this. And you can get it on Red or Green Books. I believe they're $25. I don't know. I think they're $25. Or get it from any of the contributors. And like I said, I do have a gift bundle coming up for Christmas where you can get this, my book, and my journal, and you can get it all for, I think it was $45. So if this book is $25, you can see how
What
much.
is this journal? Is this an accounting of your daily life?
No, it's called 30 Days of Poet, and it has 30 days of prompts to help someone get through and write some poetry.
Oh, I didn't know about that. I didn't know that existed.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's on Amazon. And then a copy of my book In Lieu of Flowers, which it's under a candle right now, so I don't want to grab it. But yeah.
I definitely endorse that book too, because I've read it and I love it. And it's you know, you can't not just be wowed by Shockie G's poetry. Shockie
Well,
G
I
just,
endorse this book too. Everything I think is all in my mind.
you know what, you were talking about something, Shockie G, and so in the last year, um I became friends with my, it was, I guess she was my 10th grade English, maybe she was my 9th grade English teacher on Facebook. And it, yeah, nothing, no real exchanges or anything. But then I didn't really say anything about my book, but I did that I wanted to send her my book. So I said I wrote a poetry book that's been published. And this is what she wrote back. She says, I came home and sat yesterday and read almost half. I laughed out loud. I felt heartache. I had a great sense of pride that you are such a strong individual who is in touch with your life. I'm all over the emotional roller coaster, and I'm loving it. You're very talented. I can't wait to finish it begin again and again. Which I'm thinking about, you know, adding 10 poems to it and doing a second edition. I might just throw that on the back end, on the back cover, as, you know, 10th grade English teacher, which would be pretty awesome.
That is pretty awesome. That's awesome. And yeah, like I said, National Author Day. We even have in the room Terry Rose Jertson, who is also a Red or Green book author. We have Robert Fleming, who is an author and a publisher. But
He's
yeah,
he gets published in so many different journals and things all the
yes,
time.
yeah, as well as the anthology, he's in there as well. So, you know, check everyone out. Anything anyone wants to say before I close out the podcast?
Oh, I failed to actually failed to mention it when I was up there, but I do have my book. It's not available yet, but it will be soon, and it's called Finding Poetry in the Dark. So look out for that.
Poetry in the Dark.
Yeah, Finding Poetry in the Dark.
Okay, okay, okay. I can't wait. Hit me up when it goes out.
I'll
Um,
let you know.
I'll grab one. Um, yes, and I just want to thank you guys all for coming again. And again, thank you for coming to the Out Loud podcast. I'm going to stop the live. All right, that is all done. I will upload this to Spotify. It usually takes about a day. Um, it may take longer. I don't know if they are going to censor some of those poems. But I'm gonna look into it and see if it lets me upload it. I will send you guys the Spotify link once it's up there if you want to share it with anyone. Definitely get your friends to like, share, follow. It's also on our YouTube. If you could do the same thing, like, share, follow, would be awesome. I put in the chat earlier, I will send you guys something on Friday. It will not be a lot. I don't have money like that. But if you send me your Cash Apps, I will send you something. All right. And other than that, anything anybody wants to say?
Thank you, Shockie.
Thank you, Starchild. All right, guys. We have a great night.
Thanks,
And if you need
bye.
anything, reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a
Thanks for
great night.
having me.
Yes,
Good hearing
gracias,
everybody.
everyone. Gracias, Shockie G.
Gracias.